Okay, hope someone remembers what all we discussed last time. Would anyone like to remind us what were the major points discussed in the previous session?
Um,
Y-
I can speak to it, Prabhu,
Yes,
if you allow.
yeah, please.
So yeah, we talked about religion. People usually fight based on their religion, but in reality, we all are siblings to each other. Um, then we talked about the mercy of Krishna, and one of the points was frustration is also one of the Krishna's mercy, and we talked about other mercies as well. Um,
Yeah,
and we discussed about how Maya is um, kind of pulling us to this ocean of material world,
mm,
and how is Krishna all merciful. So yeah, those are the very brief reflections that I would like to share.
wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing them. Anyone else? Sagar Prabhu, Utsav Prabhu, if you would like to remind us of some of the points from our previous session.
So, we discussed about how when things don't work out, we usually don't, you know, presume that is what Krishna wanted us to have. We usually either complaint or we feel that sadness. So I think this week we were going to explore more on how to overcome that, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah. We are going to see today how, even when things don't work our way, actually we can see Krishna's mercy in such situations. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, so we'll get started. I'll just share the screen. And okay, I hope it's visible to everyone.
Yep.
Okay, so now, okay, we'll briefly recap some of the previous sessions and then especially the last session and then dive into today's topic. Okay, so we are all happiness seeking beings. We can all appreciate this fact. And but in this world, we are hardly able to find happiness. Just a few brief moments of happiness we experience every now and then. But for the most part, we see there are struggles in this world. But then who are we? So we saw we are the Atma, the spirit, the soul, who is currently trapped in this gross and subtle body, and we are going through a cycle of birth and death. So sometimes being born in the human species, sometimes being born in some other species. And yeah, somehow we are going through this cycle of birth and death, which is not a pleasant thing. It's not fun being born. It's not fun dying. It's not fun having a body at all. mm, Because this body brings in so many restrictions, doesn't really allow us to experience full happiness, the full gamut of happiness. So, the Atma, as an Atma, we have the potential to experience unlimited joy. And that's what we are looking for, even while living in this body. But while living in the body, it's not possible. So, our search for happiness at the material platform is it's something like searching for Taj Mahal in Maharashtra. No matter how optimistically we try to search for Taj Mahal in Maharashtra, we'll not be able to find it. So similarly, no matter how much optimistic we become through pep talks or by attending some motivational speeches, uh, the nature of this world, as Lord Krishna points out, is that it will inevitably uh, cause miseries to us. So, yeah, Lord Krishna calls this world as Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. Dukkhalaya means a place of misery, and Ashashvatam means it's temporary. Hmm. So, it's a temporary place and it's a place of miseries. That's what Lord Krishna stamps this world as. This is from Bhagavad Gita 8.15. So, yes, we are unable to get the unlimited joy that we are looking for in this world. And then we saw what are the laws governing us in this world. In this connection, we saw that there are the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. Then we saw there are the laws of karma that govern us, action and reaction. If we do some good action, we get back some good material reward. If we do some bad action, we get back some punishment, some penalty for our bad actions. And now, by the way, good karma is not the same as spiritual activities. Good karma or punya is good activities at the material platform. And for those good material activities, we get back some good material reward. So, punya is material actions, good material actions, good actions at the material plane. And the reward we get for punya is also some good reward at the material plane. It's not some reward at the spiritual plane. But still, punya may help us gradually rise to the platform of mode of goodness. And from there, we can take to transcendence. So, yes, we are struggling in this world amidst the laws of karma, the three modes. And then we began our discussion on, okay, where have we come from then? So, Bhagavad Gita and our Vedic scriptures very emphatically point out that the real home of the Atma is the spiritual world, where the Atma lives with God and has a wonderful, loving relationship with God. And the Atma experiences oceanic joy at all times in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the Atma does not have a time bound body. So, just like in this material world, we have a body which is made of vulnerable and decaying substances. So, yeah, be it the body of some big bodybuilders like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Recently, I saw some picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger with shriveled up body. He has become an old man now. So, not recently, I saw it in 2014 actually. So, yeah, that's what the power of time does to our bodies in this world. And even if it's the body of some very beautiful woman, some beauty queen, Miss World, Miss India, Miss Universe, yeah, that body is also going to become old. Big, big madams become grannies in this world. Chokris become bas in this world. So, yeah, we see just like grapes turn into raisins by the power of time, the young, fresh looking bodies of even beauty queens or handsome, capable young men, they get shriveled up. And just like dry fruits, grapes become raisins and some other fruit becomes prunes. So similarly, the bodies, they become shriveled up, desiccated of all their vitality. That's what the power of time does. But in the spiritual world, the Atma has no material body. The Atma has a beautiful form. It's not that the Atma is formless, boring entity, not doing anything, always inert and not engaging in any action. In fact, the spiritual world is a much more dynamic place than the material world. Even in the material world, we see there's so much potential for action, right? We want to do so many things, go here, go there. But the body brings in so many restrictions. Every day we have to sleep 6 hours, 7 hours, whatever. Every day we have to keep feeding the body. So the body actually brings in so many restrictions. But in the spiritual world, there are no such bodily restrictions. There's no time factor at all in the spiritual world. Now, no time factor doesn't mean there's no sense of yesterday, tomorrow. There is yesterday, tomorrow, but it's eternally going on. So there is that sense of, oh, yesterday, Krishna did such a wonderful thing. Let's see what he will do tomorrow. So there is this sense of past, present, future, but yet there's no time factor, which is destroying things. So by time factor, the time factor of this world, it inevitably brings everything to destruction. Right from gadgets to our bodies also. So everything, up to even Lord Brahma's body, it is under the time factor. So Lord Brahma is also a post actually in this material world. So most of the demigods are a post actually. We will see that in some advanced series. But of course, Krishna, Vishnu, Ram, they are not a post. Krishna is eternally God. It's not that I can someday become Krishna. But Brahma is a post. So, yeah, up to Lord Brahma, the time factor acts. So, even this universe, the whole universe, the material universe we are talking about, it is under the time factor and it goes through these phases: creation, maintenance, destruction. Just like our own body, also, it goes through this creation, maintenance, destruction. Then again, rebirth. We are born through some mother's womb, then we live in the body for some time, and then destruction. So the time factor is characterized by these three phases: creation, maintenance, destruction. Creation, maintenance, destruction. And it keeps happening again and again. So for the Atma, the time factor creates an illusion that, oh, everything is going to be destroyed. So the time factor actually has a beautiful purpose. We will see that as we move through the slides. But in the spiritual world, there's no such time factor that brings things to destruction. The three phases, creation, maintenance, destruction, don't exist there. There, everything is just eternally going on. Now, in our tiny brains, this may not fit so easily. Why? Because we are so used to seeing the time factor, and we are so used to seeing everything go through these three phases: creation, maintenance, destruction. So our minds cannot comprehend, our limited minds, this thing may be difficult to comprehend. Why? Because, yeah, we haven't seen something like this. But here's some logical reason. Okay, if there has to be some timeless reality, right? Otherwise, are things popping out of nothing? That is an atheistic theory, then, right? What does atheism say? That some creation just came about randomly. So, some atheistic theory says creation came about from one small dot, the Big Bang theory. That dot had infinite mass, infinite temperature, infinite this, infinite that. It had all the code for creation, and somehow it blasted at some point. No proper reasons. Oh, how did it blast? When did it blast? Somehow it happened. Somehow, because they want to reject God, they come up with such theories. This is called confirmation bias. Means somebody is biased in the first place to reject God. They are biased about disproving God. And in the world, whatever observations they make, they try to confirm their biases. This is called confirmation bias. So, yeah, there are scientists who, out of their own confirmation biases, whatever disproves God, they try to emphasize on that. But whatever is showing the existence of God, they will not emphasize that because they are biased. So, say for example, another example of confirmation bias. Now, the scriptures very emphatically point out brahmacharya is good for a living entity. Means protecting their sexual energy, or for the males, the semen. When it is protected and held back, one lives a controlled life, one develops very good character and qualities. And that same semen then flows upward. It's called, in the scriptures, that phenomenon is called Urdhva Retasa. Yeah, that's the name. So that means the semen flows upward and it nourishes all the brain tissues and all. It's a very vital fluid. The only time it is legitimate discharging it is for the sake of procreation. Hmm. Then that doesn't implicate us in sinful reactions. But otherwise, just to spill it out for some fun, it is degrading, actually. Degrading for the character and very weakening for the body also. Hmm. It one is just so easily, just for some few moments of pleasure, one is throwing out so many vital elements from the body. Hmm. Now, however, because there is some fun associated with it, while throwing it out, there is some momentary pleasure. Those who like doing it, they will come up with some scientific findings that, oh, it's good to keep doing it every now and then, to keep discharging these fluids out of the body. So what is this? This is confirmation bias. Means there is a bias to enjoy these pleasures and to even justify them. And any observation in this world that proves those biases, I'll try to justify it. I'll try to emphasize them. So this is called confirmation bias. So all these atheistic theories, they are based on the biases of some people. Mm. So now they may say, well, you theists also have your biases, right? Yeah, fine. Yeah, we do have our biases. So as much as you have your biases, fine, we also have our biases. So as much as you may call us as faithful followers of some ideology, so are you faithful followers of some ideology. So atheism should not be seen as any more scientific than theism. As far as science is concerned, it's just a neutral field that shows us how to manipulate matter and create some amenities, create iPhone, Android phone, laptop, MacBook. Hmm? And theists can also do it, right? So science is a field to which both theists as well as atheists have contributed. So we shouldn't get discouraged coming across some atheist and think that, oh, they are more scientific than theists. Atheism is as much a belief and a faith as theism. Hmm. So yeah, uh, we saw that the scriptures point out that there is a spiritual world, a timeless place, and God is the center of that place. And that place is meant for God's enjoyment. And we too are meant to give enjoyment to God. And in giving enjoyment to God, there is supreme joy for us also. We also experience oceanic joy in loving God, in serving God. And God is not a cruel master who just simply exploits his subjects, his subordinates. Can you imagine? Even the parents in this world, they are so loving, right? And how much loving God is. The mother of Dhruv, the little boy Dhruv Maharaj, who did tapasya for a long time, and then Lord Vishnu came and blessed him and made him the ruler of the pole star, offered him a kingdom even greater than Lord Brahma's kingdom. So Dhruv Maharaj's mother, Suniti, she told him when Dhruv Maharaj was disturbed because his stepmother had insulted him. Suruchi was the name of his stepmother. So when Dhruv Maharaj was disturbed, Suniti told him, don't worry, my son. Just approach Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu's love, whatever love I am able to shower upon you, Lord Vishnu can shower much, much more love. His love for any living entity. hmm, And all living entities are like children to God. So Mother Suniti is saying to Dhruv Maharaj, his love is much, much more than the love of millions of loving mothers put together. So can you imagine? Even the love of one mother in this world, if we see any loving mother in this world, not all mothers may be very loving in nature. Some mothers are very self-centered also in this world. But if you consider even the best possible mother in this world, who is very selfless, Still, millions of such mothers put together cannot compare with the love that God has for us. So that's how loving God is. We are all like children to Him, and we are eternally connected with God. So, yeah, we live with God in the spiritual world, and now God has eternally given us something called free will. Free will means because real love can never be forced. So, yeah, God doesn't force us to love Him, but it is in our best interest to love Him. So, but still, God has given us free will. He hasn't created us like robots. Okay, just follow this instruction. Take a right, take a left. How robots function, you must have seen no, somewhere. Uh, Take a right, take a left, and they move right, left. But God hasn't created us in a robotic way. We are not like robots to God. He has given us free will, independence. By our own choice, we can either do this or do that. And that free will, especially, the perfection of that free will is to use it to love God. And those living entities who somehow misuse their free will and develop this desire that, oh, why is he God? Why not me? Hmm? Why is Krishna God? Why is he the center of everything? Why not me? For such living entities, Krishna creates this material world, which is a toy like setup. And in this material world, living entities can try out. Okay, fine. Krishna, being the most perfect gentleman that he is, Krishna allowed us. Okay, fine. You want to try playing my role? You want to try playing God? Okay, fine. I'll create a toy like setup for you where you can try it out. Hmm? So Krishna creates this material realm for such living entities where living entities can try playing God. And that's what we see everywhere around. Almost every living entity thinks, I am the center of everything. Everything is meant for my enjoyment. All the beautiful ladies walking on the street. Oh, I wish I could embrace that girl, that girl. Huh? So that's a self centered, selfish outlook to life. And we have been absorbed in this self centered conception for many, many lifetimes. So, therefore, it's difficult to come out immediately. So, this process of Krishna consciousness, it's a short process. It takes us out of this illusory state of consciousness wherein we think everything is meant for me. The process of Krishna consciousness helps us realize that everything is meant for Krishna, everything is meant for God. Everything is meant for Ram. Everything is meant for Vishnu. Hmm? This process helps us realize that and live by that. Hmm? And when we live in such consciousness, we live in perfect happiness. Hmm? So even in this world, we see selflessness makes us happy, not selfishness. Hmm? So, why? Because this comes from the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, we as Atmas derive supreme joy, unlimited joy by rendering service to God, by loving God, by pleasing God. So, even in this world, we derive joy by being selfless. By giving somebody else joy, we also derive some joy. Even in this world, we see this principle reflecting dimly. So the because this comes from the platform of spiritual reality, wherein the real joy of the Atma is in giving joy to God. Hmm? So therefore, even in this world, when we give joy to somebody else, we become happier than just trying to make ourselves joyful in a selfish way. So now, so we have somehow come to this temporary toy-like setup, this virtual reality. This is for the Atma, this material life is like a virtual reality. Now, here's one example that will make it clearer. Please listen carefully. Uh, have have all of you experienced dreams? It's a silly question. I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. When was the last time you saw some dream? Any dream? You don't have to describe the dream. Did you get some dream tonight? Uh, Last night? when you slept?
Yep. Yes.
Yes. How many of us would say yes? I would. I I don't remember the dream, but yeah, I saw something random. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, now, oh, sorry, in the process of clicking, I went ahead in the slides. So, now, when we dream, in the dream, do we doubt that it's a dream? Or do we think, oh, this is really happening? How is the experience of a dream? What do you think? It feels almost real, right? Or in the dream, are we conscious that, oh, I'm just dreaming? Sometimes we may be very dimly conscious. Okay, maybe I'm just dreaming. In the dream, we may be conscious that I'm dreaming. But for the most part, what do you think? Does the dream look like reality? Oh, this is really happening.
Yes. Yeah, it looks like reality.
Yeah, we feel, oh, this is really happening.
Yep.
Now, however, when we wake up, we realize, oh, I was just dreaming. Oh, that was just a dream. And then we dismiss it. No matter how scary that dream may be or how pleasing that dream may be. Somebody may, in the dream, may imagine that he is being chased by a tiger or he is being chased by some murderer or whatever. And that dream may be cause some ghastly feelings within. Or other times the dream may be very pleasing. Oh, he is embracing some beautiful young lady or whatever. Hmm? However, after waking up, one realizes, oh, that was just a dream. Hmm? So similarly, uh, now this material life which we are living, it's just an expanded version of a dream. फर्क केवल थोड़े समय का है. It's just expanded in scale. Hmm? So, for the Atma, even this one full lifetime, it's like a dream. It is happening in physical space. I'm not saying that I'm not sitting in New Jersey right now. Neither am I saying that most of you are in Boston right now. It's happening in physical space. Utsav Prabhu is in the temple right now. It is happening in physical space. But for the Atma, who is eternal, who is beyond time, who is an eternal lover of God, for the Atma, this whole life is just, it's like a flash. Just like a dream is a flash of some moving images and all that. So similarly, this life is also, it's a phantasmagorical flash of this event, that event, Europe trip, China trip, layoff from the job, or getting a good job, high paying job, or becoming an entrepreneur, or becoming CEO of some company, or becoming a billionaire, or becoming a president of some country. For the Atma, these are all passing by phenomena. Hmm. They move like moving images in a flash. Hmm. For the Atma, these experiences don't mean much. The only real benefit we can get out of this human life is reviving our relationship with God. Hmm. And that's what this human life is meant for. It's not meant for just going through these nice, flashy experiences in a nice way, in a comfortable way, cool and cozy way. Hmm. Most people end up spending all their lives just to build some comforts around themselves. But from a yeah, if we carefully analyze, this is just an expanded dream. This may sound discouraging. This is not to discourage us, actually. It's meant to inspire us toward real truth, toward the absolute truth. Hmm? So let's not take it in a pessimistic or a discouraging way. Uh, yeah, this is meant to point us to reality. Hmm? So for the Atma, this is like a virtual reality. It's like a dream, this whole material existence. Okay, so until this point, did Anyone have any points or any questions? Quick questions, quick reflections. We'll then jump into the slides. We'll start with some quiz questions. Anyone would like to ask something or share some reflection? Okay. Okay, so shall we jump into the slides? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, 1 second. Oh, looks like some yeah. Oh, I thought some devotees got the impression that we are ending the session now. Okay, I'm sharing my screen again. I'll share with the sound so that we'll be watching one small video as well. Okay, we have done sufficient recap now. Now, yes, here's one quiz question. The scriptures inform us that we go to the spiritual world after we get liberated. What do we do there in the spiritual world? Hmm? So here are multiple answers. Would someone be able to please read out these options? Whoever is in front of the screen.
I can read.
Yeah, sure. Please.
We remain in an inert state with no activity at all. We assist God in His joy expanding Leelas. We get fully absorbed in gadgets and video games. We offer loving service to God.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, which options do you think are correct about what do we do in the spiritual world?
2 and 4. 2 and 4.
2 and 4. Yes. Wonderful. Yeah. We assist God in His joy expanding Leelas and we offer loving service to God. Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhus. Yeah. Now, why is option 1 incorrect? Some people think that nirvana or liberation means, oh, it's all coming to a zero state with no existence at all. Hmm? So, yeah, some people are fascinated by these ideas. The word nirvana is there in Bhagavad Gita also, but the idea of nirvana that's there in the Bhagavad Gita is that in the state of nirvana, we live with God. We have joy expanding and leelas with God. Mm. We love God. We offer loving service to God. That is real nirvana. But in certain people, for them, the idea of nirvana is coming to a zero state of non-existence. Now, that non-existence may look fascinating because in this material world, usually our happiness levels are on the negative axis. And sometimes what people call happiness in this material world is actually just absence of misery. Hmm? Just like people think vacation is happiness, right? But what is vacation basically? Just the daily miseries are not there for the time being. So basically coming to zero level for some time where the miseries and the difficulties, they are minimized. Usually that is what people call happiness in this world. But in the spiritual world, there is real positive happiness, which is above zero level, which is on the positive axis. The graph goes in the positive axis. So, yeah, isn't it wonderful? to exist and experience that positive joy on the positive axis than to just not exist at all. Hmm? But some people find non-existence better than, yes, non-existence may feel better than existing in a miserable state. But living with God, being in the spiritual world, is much, much, much better than the state of non-existence. Hmm? So hope this point is clear. So some spiritual paths like Buddhism uh, is one path where the idea of nirvana is just non-existence. Okay, yeah, nothing exists, zero state. Therefore, it's also that ideology is often in Sanskrit we call it Shunyavad. Hmm? So, but yeah, in the spiritual world, we are engaged in positive dynamic activities. So, as we have seen in the previous sessions, God has a personal life too, and we too are a part of God's personal life. Hmm? Okay, Tarun Prabhu, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just have a question for you.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, is it right to say that no, a true aim should be achieving no, like non-existence of any brain activity? In the sense, the two options which we spoke about now and till now what you've spoken is more about like helping God. So your mind is free from like I am not, I don't have desires to achieve to move towards closer to God because I'm there. Is that something right to understand? Like I'm free from all the boundaries around me, which bound me today. My responsibilities, my duties. All my duties only one person. The one person right there with whom I am supposed to be my entire world. Is that something
Hmm. Okay,
makes
okay.
sense or?
So if I understand your question correctly, you're asking whether what should be our real duty then? Should we just rise above all brain activity and bodily activities and not have anything to do with this world? And then, yeah, is that what you were asking?
No, I'm saying yes. One part of question was yes, as well as like when we say non-existence and it doesn't, like according to Bhagavad Gita, does we say kind of not relevant. You cannot be non-existence,
Hmm.
or not. No, you can't have any act. Like you cannot exist without any activity. But your mind is free. Your mind is not entangled in any activities. Is that right to say? Like I am
Ah,
not bound to like move spiritually more closer to God to fulfill my responsibilities, my duties. I'm just free. You understand? Like when you're free on a Saturday, Sunday, your mind is like you just sit and do nothing sometimes.
hmm. Wonderful question. Yeah. So, our goal is not to become desireless or activityless. Our goal is to have desires for God, to love God, to please God. Our goal is to act in relationship with God and to serve God and love God. So, uh, if you see on the slide here, here we see Krishna and Balram sitting, and they are surrounded by cows, calves, and some cowherd friends. Now, in the spiritual world also, this, Krishna and Balram, when they came to this material world 5,000 years ago, they displayed these pastimes, these leelas, uh, to show us that this is what happens in the spiritual world. Come back, join us again, join me again. Krishna is calling us back. Hmm? Uh, Come back home, and join me to experience real happiness, and live with me. Hmm? Now, when we go back home to the spiritual world, does the Atma lose its form altogether? Is there no form at all? No, there is a beautiful form in the spiritual world. Like you see these friends of Krishna sitting around him, we may also have one such form, a beautiful form, very charming form. But that form is pure Atma. That form is not made of some body made of atoms and molecules with blood flowing in it. If there's any cut, then blood will ooze out of the body. Hmm? That form is not like that. It's purely spiritual form. It is Atma, pure Atma. Hmm? So it's not made of any material substance. And that form is very dynamic and it is it has no restrictions at all. In the spiritual world, simply by in the material world, we see there's a vast difference between our desire and reality, right? I may desire anything in my mind, but the reality is not dependent on my desires. But in the spiritual world, we may desire something and it just manifests in front of us. Hmm? And of course, we don't take advantage of that situation to desire anything godless. But yeah, we desire to go from one corner to another. We really don't need some vehicle that takes long, long hours to go from one place to another. We just desire, and the Atma can transport itself from one place to another just by desiring. And the Atma is fully dynamic and active in the spiritual world. And the Atma, whatever functions we can perform in the material world, like thinking, we think in the material world, we think through our mind, and the physical manifestation of our thought processes comes through the brain. Hmm? So the brain is the gross part of our thinking. But yeah, inside our inner subtle body consists of the mind. The mind is subtler than the brain. The brain is just a grossly perceivable organ in the body, but the mind is subtler. The mind cannot be touched. Hmm? But yet, the mind has many desires, thoughts, and so on. So, right now, we are living amidst a material mind, which is filled with material desires. So the whole gross and subtle body we are living in, they are all material. Hmm? They are filled with material ideas, godless ideas, basically, and so on. But our goal is to rise above this material and fill ourselves with spiritual thoughts, spiritual desires. And then we become eligible to go back to the spiritual world and live with God, with Krishna. And we live in eternal joy with God. Hmm? So, yeah, and there also, it's not that our thinking stops, our actions stop. There, in fact, we have much, much more capability of thinking and acting. Hmm? As I mentioned, the Atma can just desire and transport itself from one corner to another. Right now, if I desire, I cannot just transport myself to India. I have to go through some airline and, oh, such a tedious process, no? And then coming from India back to the US is even tougher. We need a visa stamp and such a tedious process, no? But in the spiritual world, yeah, we just desire and we go from one place to another. And it's a very beautiful and dynamic place. One saint described the spiritual world as everything wonderful you can imagine and much more. So, I have stopped watching movies for more than 10, 15 years now. In 2009, I came in touch with ISKCON, and yeah, right, 3, 4 months after that, I stopped watching movies. So, one of the last movies I had watched was this movie called Avatar. It had come around end of 2009 or something. Avatar, some English Hollywood movie. It had become a famous movie, I think. It had shown some wonderful land in another. Human beings go to another planet and there they discover a very wonderful land. There's another human-like species there. And they have shown a nice land. Now, people really, when such movies come out, people become fascinated by such ideas of going to another nice wonderland. And then out of such movies, even theme parks are made. Like I have heard, my brother, sister-in-law, they take their kids to Disney sometimes. I have never been there, and neither am I interested to go there. But uh, yeah, I heard from them that in Disney now they have created this uh, some area where there is Avatar. Whatever world is shown in that Avatar movie, in Disney theme park, they have shown some tiny model of that. And people become fascinated going there. Now, the spiritual world is, please note this statement carefully. Everything wonderful you can imagine, like That Avatar movie also, it comes from some human being's imagination, right? The spiritual world is everything wonderful you can imagine and much more. So it's much, 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 much more, trillions of times more beautiful and pleasing than what the wonderland shown in Avatar movie. Hmm? So that's the abode of God. Now, somebody may think, oh, this is all fairy tales. Some Hindu saints have come up with some nice ideologies, huh? Just to keep the human mind uh, fascinated with some otherworldly things. No, it's not like that. Even in this world, uh, yeah, we see practically everywhere around, we see there's miracle around. Hmm? So why not in the real abode of God? This world is just a reflection of that world. Yet this world itself has so much beauty in it. What to speak of the abode of God, the personal home of God, where God lives. How beautiful that place must be. And how beautiful God must be. Hmm? So, okay, while trying to answer your question, I ended up speaking many other side topics. But as you, yeah, wonderful question you asked. Our goal is not to become thoughtless or desireless, hmm, or to come to some state of non existence. Our goal is to attain this joyful state of being a lover of God, a servant of God, and then go back to God and live with God in joy. Hmm. And as I said, this place, it's not my statement. Uh, this place, the spiritual world, is much, much more, everything wonderful you can imagine and much more. So that's the spiritual world. Okay, shall we move forward?
Prabhu, quick question. Could you also elaborate on uh, what are duties in the spiritual world?
Hmm. Uh, yeah, all we do there is engage in loving exchanges with Krishna. So, duty as in, could we call it duty? Duty is still a little heavy word. Duty applies when there's some obligation on us. So, yeah, in the spiritual world, we are just engaged in joy expanding activities where we love God, we serve God, and God doesn't need any service as such from us. Because in the spiritual world, there's no time factor that's acting. It's not that uh, if Krishna or any devotees in the spiritual world, if they don't get food, their existence is going to get threatened. That happens in the material world. If we don't get food for some time, for a few days, we'll die. If we don't get water for 2, 3, however many days one can control, we die. But in the spiritual world, eating, drinking, they are just joy expanding activities. They are not obligatory activities where, oh, if I don't eat, I die. Hmm? They are just joy expanding activities. Hmm? So, yeah, playing is, yeah, we play with God, we talk to God, we have fun with God. That's the spiritual world. Hmm? So, as far as duties are concerned, again, the word duty or obligation, it's more or less, it's there in the material world. In the spiritual world, there's no obligation as such. But yet, we just, out of our own volition, we serve God and we love God. And that's the kind of love God likes, unconditional love. Not even love because we feel some sense of duty. Hmm? Yeah, as we described in one of the previous sessions, there are 4 stages of approaching God: fear, desire, duty, and love. So, in the spiritual world, only the 4th stage exists: unconditional love. Only those who have unconditional love can live in that abode. So, to go back home, back to the spiritual world, we need to develop unconditional love for God. Hmm? So, yeah, even that dutiful sense of loving God, it's short of unconditional love, right? So, yeah, uh, maybe your question wasn't about this sense of duty that exists in the material world, but yeah,
It's about It's about the activities going on in the spiritual world.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, you answered my question. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, we'll move forward now. Okay, here's another. Yeah, this is not a question, just a point. The spiritual world is a happening place where all of us are engaged in dynamic and vibrant exchanges of love with God. And in the spiritual world, Krishna is the center of all enjoyment there. And none of us feels jealous of God in the spiritual world. Why is he the center? Why not me? In this material world, if you go to some party and somebody is the center of that party, yeah, have you experienced some feelings of jealousy? Oh, why is he the center? Why not me? So yeah, most of us may have experienced some feeling of jealousy towards somebody who is in limelight. Say in some function, somebody is the center of all attraction, and I am not that center, then yeah, the tendency of any conditioned soul is to become jealous. In the spiritual world, there is no such jealousy toward God. God is the center of all enjoyment in the spiritual world. He is the center of all attraction, and everyone is happy in always having Him as the center of attraction. And in that, everyone experiences true joy. And God also, He wants to make us, He makes each and every one of us feel very special. He is able to give time to each and every one of us. So when Krishna and his friends, and it is said millions of friends, millions and billions of friends, when they sit around him to have some food, again, that food is not just to uh, make some hunger go away. It is a joy expanding activity. So when they sit like this to have food, each and every friend of Krishna feels like, oh, Krishna is looking only at me. Krishna, when he plays on his flute, every cow hears that, oh, Krishna is calling me personally by my name. Every cow gets attracted. So Krishna is the perfect reciprocator of all love. Even in this world, we see when somebody is looking for a partner, life partner, every person in search of a partner would want to have a perfect partner, right? With whom he can have perfect exchanges. A wife, say some man is looking for a wife, he'll look for some wife who resonates fully with him, right? Who reciprocates perfectly with him, all love. But in this world, nobody can find such a person. Because our real compatibility is only with God. At the material level, we always find some or the other incompatibility. So our real compatibility is only with God. The perfect reciprocator of love is only God. And in the spiritual world, when we go there, even with each other, we have a perfect relationship of filled with love because God has become the center. But in this world, when we forget that God is the center of everything and each person makes himself the center, the husband thinks I am the center of the home, the wife thinks I am the center of the home, the children also think I am the center of the home. So, in such a place, even though there may be some love, but it's not a perfect place of real love. The perfect place of real love, our real home, Atma's real home, is the spiritual world. So, in the spiritual world, very loving exchanges happen with devotees. Like we discussed, Mother Yashoda tying Lord Krishna. Such beautiful leelas happen there. Why did we leave such a our home and such a loving, our real home and such a loving master? Because we wanted to enjoy separately from him. So now, yeah, here's one quiz question. Why did we come to this material realm? So multiple answers can be correct. Option 1, because God whimsically wanted to punish us and keep us on a timeout. In the US, when kids do some mischief and parents want to punish them, They send them to another room. Okay, go to that room. Time out. Until the next 1 hour, you'll just be in that room. You cannot come out. They call it time out. So, yeah, has God sent us on such a timeout? Option 2, because we desired to enjoy separately from God. Option 3, because we wanted to play God and take his position. And option 4, to earn some money and take it back with us to the spiritual world. Like sometimes people may come from India to some Western country to earn some money and then go back home. So have we come here like that? So yeah, what would you say? What are the correct answers?
Option 2 and 3, I think.
2 and 3. Okay. Any other answers?
1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
In some sorts, I feel one little bit makes sense. Might not the exact wordings, but yeah, the context would make sense.
Okay. But did
Only
God?
three, option 3.
Huh?
Only 3.
Okay.
Big-
Who is that? Ranjit Pro is saying only 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So the correct options are 2 and 3. So yeah, 3 is correct and 2 is also correct because yeah, in one sense, we are wanting to be separate enjoyers from God. Why is God the enjoyer? Why not me? So I want my own separate abode, my own separate realm where I can also play God, where I can be an enjoyer like God. So then God creates this material world and he puts together such living entities. He could have given one planet to each living entity, but then again, living alone is also boring, right? Then, yeah, God has put all such souls together in this material world, and yeah, then the cutthroat competition begins in this world. Everyone wanting to be the center. So options 2 and 3. Option 1 is not correct because it's not God's desire to send us away. We desired it. And God simply, like a loving father, has just facilitated it. So just like a dog who has a loving master, but still the dog sometimes, and the master is very nicely feeding him. But still, the dog may sometimes want to go out, go to this trash can, that trash can, and sniff around and try out some garbage there. So the master, okay, takes him, although the master doesn't want to. So we will, now these two words will make God's role very clear. Reluctant sanctioner. If we understand these two words, it resolves many questions. So, God provides us the. Okay, we'll come to this reluctant sanctioner later on. Right now, I'll just briefly mention it. We'll expand on it later. What does sanctioner mean? What does sanction mean? In English, the word sanction.
Grant.
To grant, yeah, allow something. And what does reluctant mean?
Like hesitantly, not fully
Hesitantly.
into it, but due to some undue pressure or due to some emotional thing, you accept it.
Yes, right. So, yeah, I don't want it, but I do it somehow, hesitantly. So, yeah, God's role in allowing us to come to this world, it's more like a reluctant sanctioner. He doesn't want us to come here, to leave him and rebel and then come to this world. But yeah, he has still sanctioned it because we had that desire. Just like that dog's master, like a reluctant sanctioner, he may take the dog around. He may tie a leash around the dog and take the dog around to try out some garbage because the dog wants it and the master loves the dog, right? So out of his love, he reluctantly sanctions the dog's plan. Okay, now next slide. Now, in this material world, what is that energy of Krishna functioning in this material world that enables us to forget him? Now, please remember, even in this world, if we come across somebody who is very beautiful or has any attractive features, we saw there are 6 attractive features. If somebody has any of them, it's difficult to forget that person, right? Say somebody comes across, say a young man comes across some beautiful young woman and has some brief interaction and then goes away. Do you think he'll be able to easily forget her? No, she'll probably keep coming to his mind again and again. He'll desire to be with her again and again. Similarly, Krishna, who is all attractive, the beautiful women of this world, their attractive potency is nothing compared to God's ability to attract us. How attractive God is, the origin of everyone. So it's not at all easy to forget him. So, but still, we are living in a world of forgetfulness of God. So, what is that energy acting in this world that facilitates us in forgetting God? What is that one word? That energy, what is it called?
Maya.
Maya.
Maya, yes. So, yeah, to forget God is not easy, but yeah, therefore, God creates this energy called Maya. Again, God is doing it as a reluctant sanctioner. He doesn't want us to be in Maya. We wanted to be in Maya. So God, as a reluctant sanctioner, has allowed it. So we have come to this virtual reality as we discussed that dream example. For us, even one life which we get so seriously caught up in, for the Atma, it's more or less like a dream, just an expanded dream. Now, what does Bhagavad Gita 7.14 say? Krishna mentions about this energy that enables living entities to forget him. Daivihesha gunamayi mama, what is that word? Maya duratyaya, mameva ye prapadyante, maya metam tarantite. Could you please recite after me? Let's go line by line. Please repeat after me. Daivihesha gunamayi.
दैवी येषा गुणमयी
मम माया दुरत्यया
मम माया दुरत्यया
मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते
मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते
मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
So, translation, could someone please read?
Yeah. So translation: this divine energy of mine, consisting of three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Yeah. So this Maya energy that God has created, Krishna is saying it's very difficult to overcome. Just by our own beating around, like suppose we are caught up in an ocean, just by my hitting hands, I just cannot swim across that ocean. So being in this world, it's like being in an ocean. It's a vast ocean, much bigger than Pacific Ocean also. So this world of Maya, this material world, this virtual reality in which I am caught up in, and all of us are caught up in, just by our own endeavors, no matter what we do, yeah, we cannot swim across this ocean. We cannot, Krishna is saying, it's difficult to overcome. However, there is one solution. Krishna says, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. मामे वये प्रपद्यन्ते माया मेताम तरंति ते तरंति तर जाते हैं वो. In Marathi also the same word is there, tarant, tarun jane. So yeah, maya metam tarantite. So we can easily cross beyond this ocean of Maya if we surrender to Krishna, because Maya belongs to Krishna. Krishna simply has to order Maya, okay, Maya, now stop exerting your influence on this person. He has already turned to me, he has surrendered to me. Okay, so now, so yeah, surrendering to Krishna This whole process of Krishna consciousness is like a wonderful boat. There's one verse in Bhagavatam. Nridehamadhyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam gurukarnadharam mayanukule nanabhasvatiritam puman bhavabdhim nataret sa atmaha. Lord Krishna is comparing this material world to Bhava Abdhi. Bhava means this material nature, and Abdhi is like an ocean. Bhavabdhim. So, Bhavasagar. Have you heard this word Bhavasagar anywhere? So, we have Sagar Prabhu with us. Sagar means ocean. So, the word Bhavasagar means this ocean of samsar, this ocean of Maya. This ocean of illusions and temptations and difficulties and miseries. So Bhav Sagar and Bhavabdhi, they are synonymous. So Lord Krishna is calling this human life as a wonderful boat, a very strong boat. Nrideham, this Narka Deha, Nrideha means this human life. It's it's an all auspicious body actually. This body can award us the greatest auspiciousness and benefit. And somehow, by some good fortune, we have received it. And this human body, it's compared to a suitable boat. Plavam, Sukalpam. A very suitably designed boat. Plavam means boat. And who is the captain of this boat? Guru Karnadharam. Guru. Guru means a devotee of Krishna who shows us the way to Krishna. We are going to discuss more about that. Guru Karnadharam. Mayanukulena nabhasvateritam. My messages in the scriptures. Mayanukulena. Maya, mine. Mayanukulena nabhasvateritam. Krishna is speaking this to Uddhava. Just like Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjun, he spoke Uddhav Gita to Uddhav. So Krishna is saying, my words in the scriptures, basically Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavata, these are words of God. My words are like favorable winds that help this boat cross. Puman bhavabdhim na taret sa atmaha. But still, even after having received this fortune, somebody who doesn't take full advantage of it and wastes his human life, he is like his own killer. Atmaha. He is like his own killer. Means he is like a suicider. Somebody who willingly commits suicide or takes poison. One who does not take advantage of this wonderful facility. So, surrendering to Krishna can help us easily cross this ocean of material existence. Now, one question here. This question, it's a legitimate question. It may come in somebody's mind. When the goal is not clear, we may come to some such conclusion. Okay, should we be approaching Krishna only to go beyond this material energy, Maya? What do you think? What is the purpose of approaching Krishna? Krishna says in this verse, right, in 7.14 Bhagavad Gita, those who come to me, those who surrender to me, can easily cross beyond this Maya. So here's a question. Is the goal of approaching Krishna, is it only to go beyond Maya or what is the goal of approaching Krishna? What do you think? Quiz question. Subjective question. You may answer based on whatever understanding we have received so far.
I think I can answer that. It's definitely not just escape this material world of Maya, but it is also love for Krishna.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. In fact, our
It-
primary goal of approaching, was someone else also saying something? Ranjit Prabhu or Tarun Prabhu?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Ranjit here. Um, Probably even, eternal joy.
Sorry?
Eternal joy. We are approaching Krishna for eternal joy.
Okay, yeah, wonderful answer. Anyone else was going to say anything?
Uh, kind of satisfaction, especially soul satisfaction. Like, like we try to change careers, we say we are not able to do this, you're not able because we don't find satisfaction in that. The soul satisfaction is Krishna, I feel. That's what we are trying to learn.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so as Shreyas Prabhu pointed out, the goal of approaching Krishna is actually the highest motivation of approaching Krishna is to love him. That's it. Not even to go beyond Maya. Because the desire that, oh, I'll approach Krishna so that I can go beyond Maya and I can become liberated. That's it. Then I have nothing to do with Krishna. Hmm? That is a selfish goal. It's like using God for something. Or, yeah, having a business like transaction with God. Hmm? Or even higher than that is approaching God for eternal joy, my satisfaction. But yet, there is still that sense of my joy. By approaching Krishna, I will become joyful. The highest motivation, the highest possible motive of approaching Krishna, which will please Krishna to the fullest, is to approach him for his pleasure. To approach him out of unconditional love. I just want to please Krishna and nothing else. For his pleasure, I want to approach him. That literally conquers God. That kind of love conquers God, who is unconquerable. However, at our stage, okay, fine, we may still approach him because I will derive joy in the process. It's better to approach God than to take shelter of something material and temporary to derive some joy out of it. But yeah, the highest mood or motive for approaching God is to love him. So, but in the process, the other things also happen as a side benefit. When we approach Krishna to love him, everything else will be included in that. All other benefits, benefits will come as side benefits. Benefits such as crossing Maya. So, crossing Maya will also happen automatically. That will happen. Then we will derive unlimited joy and satisfaction. That will also happen automatically. It's an included benefit. But approaching Krishna for unconditional love, it's like the superset of everything. It includes all other benefits also. But while approaching Krishna, we don't even think of what I will get in return. Only then that becomes unconditional love. But yeah, we may not suddenly be able to approach God with that feeling of unconditional love. So yeah, in the beginning, fine, whatever motivation we have, we start approaching God and we keep praying intensely. My dear Lord, please purify me of other motivations and please let me approach you only for unconditional love. Let only this motivation remain. Okay. Why does Krishna want us to come back? 4 options. Because he needs more manpower to run his factory. Sometimes a father may call his son, Chalo beta, bahut ho gayi padhai, come help me in my business. Is Krishna wanting us to come back just so that he needs some more manpower there to run whatever factory he may be running? Or option 2, would someone like to read?
Because he is a unique loving relationship with each one of us and he is missing each one of us.
Option 3.
Because he wants us to live in eternal spiritual bliss in his company.
And option
Option
4.
4. No, he just wants to keep us suffering in this temporary realm of matter.
Yeah, what do you think? Multiple options could be correct.
2 and 3.
Okay. Any other answers? Yes, 2 and 3 again. Hmm? Yeah, Krishna is also missing us. Because each one of us has a wonderful, unique relationship with him. So, yeah, our vacancy is still there in the spiritual world. It's not that we are not needed there anymore. The vacancy has been filled up. No, Krishna is still missing us. He wants each one of us to come back. And he wants us to live in eternal spiritual happiness in his company. So therefore, time and again, he comes to call us back. And what does the Lord do to help us come back? As we started this discussion in the last session, there are 5 ways Krishna shows us mercy in this material world. One is the worldly pleasures themselves. So, in one sense, they are a form of God's mercy. What type of mercy? Do you remember those 2 words, that couplet of words? How has He allowed us these worldly pleasures? With what mood? In what mood? Just like that master, loving master, taking his dog out to taste some garbage. With what?
Reluctant.
Yes, yes. As, could you complete that, Tarun Prabhu?
I'm forgetting the second word. Reluctant.
Reluctant sanctioner. Yeah.
Sanction. Yeah.
So, yeah, God does not want us to live amidst worldly pleasures. Actually, worldly pleasures, they are puny. Those who start developing a higher taste, those who start feeling the love for God within, for them, worldly pleasures, they are, it's like drinking sewage. Can you imagine if you are given a cup filled with sewage, that dirty substance flowing out from people's toilets and drainage systems? If it's kept put in a nice cup and given, here, sir, here you go, please drink to your heart's content. Who would want to drink it? It's so obnoxious and abominable, right? So, for pure devotees who are experiencing that love for God, the highest joy of loving God and having loving exchanges with God, for them, worldly pleasures, they become as insignificant and obnoxious as sewage. But still, those who are not experiencing that love for God, who are fully absorbed in the world of Maya, for them, worldly pleasures mean everything for them. They are so fervently running after worldly pleasures. Why should I say they? We were also running, right? Before coming to ISKCON, yeah, I had all these goals for worldly pleasures. Yeah, I had desires for making girlfriends and all, having many girls as my friends. Somehow God kept me safe from it, but those desires were there before I came to this wonderful path of Krishna consciousness. So, yeah, we are not looking down upon people who are absorbed in worldly pleasures. We are not being condescending in any way. We just feel sorry for them. And to keep ourselves humble, we remind ourselves, hey, I could have also been caught up. I would have also been fully absorbed in worldly pleasures if devotees of Krishna had not saved me. So that way we never become proud for having become devotees of Krishna or having taken to this path of Krishna consciousness. We should never feel proud. Pride can steal away our devotion. Pride is dangerous. So, yeah, as spiritualists, we don't think ourselves as superior. Yes, at an objective level, yeah, we are definitely much better situated than people who are just caught up with worldly pleasures at an objective level. But individually, how should my subjective vision be? My vision, in my subjective vision, I should not think of myself as better than anyone. Even I shouldn't think of myself as better than even materialistic people. Because if I do that, it's displeasing to God. And yeah, uh, in one sense, I'm not behaving in a spiritual way. The safest position for a spiritual practitioner is to be fully absorbed in uh, the process of trying to develop love for Krishna, but at the same time not becoming proud that I'm better than materialistic people. Because pride itself is a materialistic thing. It's a thing of this material world. It's not something spiritual. So while being absorbed in a spiritual process, if we simultaneously maintain pride and arrogance, then yeah, it's ironical, right? We are there in the spiritual, our legs are in both the areas. In the spiritual area, and also one leg is in the material area, where we are so strongly holding on to pride and arrogance. Because pride and arrogance are attitudes of this world, not of that world, not of the spiritual world. So we never become proud, but at the same time, objectively, we understand that worldly pleasures, they are not in our real interest. It's not in our real interest to run after these worldly pleasures. These worldly pleasures just come and go. They titillate us for some time and they go. They don't give us lasting happiness and satisfaction. Even, say, for example, now, yeah, the king of all pleasures in this world is sex, male female union. Literally, living entities are so mad after it, right? Sex pleasure. Now, if we carefully analyze this sex pleasure, yeah, it doesn't give lasting happiness. As soon as the semen is discharged from the body, it's gone. Any intelligent person will see the hand of God in this whole phenomenon. Okay, now, since we have brought up this topic of sex pleasure, we'll come to our second. Okay, so God's mercy, in one way, it comes in the form of worldly pleasures also, because as a reluctant sanctioner, He is providing us worldly pleasures. Okay, my children want to enjoy separately from me. Okay, let me facilitate them. Just like that loving master who has a dog, and the dog, although the dog is getting very good food at home, provided by the master, the dog wants to taste some garbage. So the master, out of his love, ties a leash around the dog and takes the dog out. So similarly, God, out of his loving nature, as a reluctant sanctioner, he has provided us worldly pleasures. And the king among all worldly pleasures is the sex pleasure between male and female, and it's there in all species. So yeah, okay. God, being the perfect gentleman, seeing that living entities want to enjoy separately from him, God allowed, okay, fine, you want to enjoy separately from me? Okay, fine. Male, female, enjoy with each other. So I'm putting it in very simplistic terms, but yeah, this is the background of this male-female attraction. Biology may give answers in terms of hormonal secretions and all. Yeah, biology is also true. We are not refuting it. But beyond biology is the hand of God. We are talking about the hand of God here. So biology, in when we discuss these topics about God, biology takes a backseat. It's relatively a lower level of science than the science of God. So the background behind all these biological reasons is the intent of God behind creation. Why has God created things the way they have been created? Okay, so worldly pleasures in one sense are a mercy of God, and but not the highest form of mercy, because he has as a reluctant sanctioner, he is allowing us to experience these pleasures. However, his higher form of mercy comes when he the in the form of the time factor that disappoints us. By injecting temporariness in this whole world, what is the time factor? The time factor brings in this aspect of temporariness of everything. Hmm? If you see, time factor futilates everything. I'm not sure if futilate is a correct word here, but futile. Everyone must be aware of the word futile, right? Meaningless. Hmm? Futile means meaningless. So the time factor, it renders everything meaningless. It renders everything futile. Or if there is such a word, futilate, meaning rendering something futile, then let's say the time factor futilates everything. Hmm? It unnecessitates everything. Hmm? So, yeah, if we carefully think about it, no matter what achievements we may get in this life, even if somebody may become the president of United States, just if we just consider this time factor, if we carefully think about this time factor, it will futilate everything. Hmm? So this time factor, actually, this time factor has a beautiful message for us. The time factor is, it's shaking us up. It's like a wake up call. Come on, wake up, sleeping souls. Turn toward reality. Uttishtha, Uttishtha, Jagrita, Varan Nibodhata. There's some sutra from one of the Upanishads. So wake up, sleeping souls, and turn toward reality. So that's what the time factor is there for. God has mercifully created it. Out of our immaturity, we may curse this time factor. Oh, this time factor is so cruel. And yeah, at one level, it looks cruel. Yeah, when somebody, some near and dear one passes away, and inevitably the time factor is going to make everyone die, right? Hmm? Uh, our grandparents may have left. Definitely, great grandparents have left already. Grandparents also, for most of us, have left. For me, my only nani is remaining among four grandparents. And personally, in my life, I lost my parents also at an early age in a car accident. And then, yeah, we'll also grow old and die, or we may die young also. So, this time factor, yes, it looks cruel at one level. But if we carefully understand the purpose behind creation, we will not be bewildered. We'll not blame God or we'll not blame the time factor. We'll instead be able to see the benevolent arrangement of God behind this time factor. So, this time factor is actually coming to us with a wake up call. It has a beautiful message for us. Please turn toward reality. Please come out of this virtual reality. Please come out of this dreamy situation. Please turn toward God. That is your real interest. That's the message this time factor is bringing to us. So, yeah, if we understand the purpose of this time factor, then we will not call it cruel. We'll rather be able to see the benevolent arrangement of God in everything. Personally, even when I lost my parents in childhood in a car accident, I did not blame God even that time. And later on, when I came to ISKCON, took to the path of Krishna consciousness, everything fell in place. Yeah, everything made sense. And at one point, I began to appreciate that all miseries of this world are worth going through if they ultimately lead us to God. So, yeah, in 2014, I genuinely began to feel I do not wish that anybody else lose their parents. It's a painful situation, but for myself, this is what I began to appreciate that, okay, it was worth going through all those so called troubles and miseries of not having parents, if that is what has brought me to Krishna. I genuinely began to appreciate it in 2014, just before I came to the US. So, yeah.
But Prabhu, quick question. Not all miseries lead to Krishna consciousness, right? I mean, um,
True. Totally
right.
agree.
So yeah, how we
Misery,
can say that all the frustration or all the miseries is a mercy of Lord.
yeah, very good point. Srila Prabhupada explains this in recently I just read in one purport in 8th canto. It's true, not all miseries always lead us to God. Many of them, they are just, a part of the cycle of birth and death and the laws of karma amidst which we are living. But it's our attitude that can help us see miseries as mercy of God. So, yeah, miseries in themselves don't lead us to God. It's the attitude with which we take them can help us either go close to God or, but yes, in one sense, they are meant to be a wake up call to us. Hmm? They, the miseries of this world and the disappointments caused by the time factor, they cannot let us, they don't let us perpetually stay in ignorance. Hmm? Even the most materialistic people, when they see that death is coming, they at least start thinking a little selflessly. Oh, let me divide my wealth among my descendants. Let me write my will, at least. Huh? So, though they may be very materialistic in nature, at least some sense of, responsibility comes when they see, oh, the time is ticking, the clock is ticking, death is coming closer. Hmm? So, yeah, the miseries of this world, and even those miseries which are purely because of the laws of karma and may not be very spiritual in nature, those miseries also, they at least help us become refined. The laws of karma are meant to help us become refined beings. We had discussed this in the session on karma. Actually, I have a somewhat hard stop by 3:30, 3:45, some family obligation. So we will rush through a little bit. So, yes, but an advanced spiritualist, he is able to see God's mercy even in the most miserable situations. Hmm? Though he may not appreciate it at that time while going through the miseries, but later on, if he becomes evolved, spiritually evolved, he may be able to see God's benevolent hand in all the miseries. And as spiritual practitioners, yes, those who thank God even in miserable situations. Thank you, Krishna. You arranged this situation for my purification, for my spiritual evolution. Thank you, my dear Lord. Thank you for sending this difficulty in my life. Those who live their lives with this attitude, they become very, very dear to Krishna. They make tremendous spiritual progress. Hmm? So they move very fast in their journey. Hmm? So those who
Um,
don't complain.
quick question. Don't you think so? There are some miseries they are directly pulling us away from Krishna consciousness.
Yes, yeah. So from our side, we don't uh, create a miserable situation for ourselves. We do try to counteract miseries. Say I get a wound, say I fall somewhere and I get a wound. It's not that I let it bleed and just keep suffering. Yeah, I should go to a doctor, get it healed. Because, yeah, while I'm bleeding, I cannot chant. I cannot do my spiritual practices. So, yes, miseries do distract us. But in the grand scheme of things, when we see, actually, we can start seeing the benevolent hand of God. There's one story in this connection. I'll very quickly rush through it. One king had a minister who would always say that everything happens by uh, God has a good plan in everything. Everything happens for good, even the miserable things. Okay, the king says, okay, fine, let's see. And once the king, while trying to chop some vegetables, the king ends up cutting his own finger. Hmm? And then he asks that minister, "Do you think this has also happened for some good reason?" The minister says, "Yes, absolutely." The king gets angry. He puts him behind the bars. And then there was another spy minister uh, from some other rival kingdom who came, who had come to as a spy, and he actually wanted to uh, put the king into trouble. However, that spy somehow won the trust of the king, and that spy took up the position of this main minister. And that spy, once the spy and the king, and maybe they were accompanied by a few, they just went to a forest for some expedition. And in the forest, they were caught by some tribe. And that tribe, they intended to offer a human sacrifice to imagined, uh, some imagined divinity they had created. They wanted to offer a human sacrifice, and they caught both this king as well as this minister, that spy who had become the minister. And the king, now they were going to offer the king because the king looked more majestic and he looked like a much better offering than that spy. So they were going to kill that king. But they saw that, oh, this king does not have a finger or whatever cut he had got on his finger. So they said, oh, that makes him an imperfect offering. So leave him. Let's offer this spy. And they killed that spy and offered him. And then the king realized, oh, whatever that minister said, my previous minister, who was so wise, he was perfect. Then the king came back to his kingdom very relieved. Oh, I have escaped from death. And he released his minister, his trusted minister. And the king said, okay, I agreed with you now. Whatever happened was for good. Good that I cut my finger. Huh? And then the king asked him, but then, okay, why were you put behind the bars? How did it do any good for you? Can you guess what the minister may have answered? Any guess? How did
Otherwise, the minister would have been killed
Ah,
instead of the spy. Yeah.
yes. So how did that imprisonment help that minister? That
It saved
minister
his
would
life.
have otherwise been killed by that tribe. So this is a story, may not be a true story. I'm not sure. It most likely is not a true story, but a very illustrative story. So although at that time, while going through miseries, we may not realize how they are a blessing in the grand scheme of things. Neither did I. On losing parents, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is so nice. I lost my parents. No, no, definitely not. It was painful that time. But now when I look back at it, yes, if those miseries is what have brought me closer to Krishna, I'm willing to go through thousands of such lives if that is what will, if in the end I'm going to get Krishna. So in the grand scheme of things, we see God's benevolent hand. Okay, we'll move forward. There's a very important topic to cover. Okay, then scriptures. This is the third form of God's mercy in this world. The first form of mercy was worldly pleasures. It's not the real mercy, but as a reluctant sanctioner, he has still provided us. The second form of mercy, yeah, this is a higher form of mercy. But again, as Shreyas Prabhu pointed out, it's not miseries that necessarily lead to Krishna consciousness. They may act as catalysts that help us go closer to God. But in themselves, miseries are not God consciousness. Miseries by default don't come with God consciousness. They may act as catalysts. So Shreyas Prabhu, yeah, to satisfy your query, you can think of miseries as catalysts that can help us, push us toward God. They are not necessarily something that come with God consciousness. They can be catalysts. So,
Yeah, but
yeah. Now, yeah, to analyze this pleasure of sex, the so-called pleasure of sex, okay, how will we, this analysis puts together everything. Some people, many times question, right? I have often come across many people, okay, fine. You guys, you Hare Krishnas, you practitioners of Bhagavad Gita, you devotees of Krishna, you guys say that lust is bad, but then why did God create it at all if he did not want us to do it? Why would God create this male-female attraction if he did not want us to do it? Then How would we answer that? Huh? Don't we have any answer for this? This may look like a good question, right? In Krishna consciousness, we have answers to all these questions. So the answer is yes, God has created this lust. He has created this male-female attraction. But yet, the onus of lust is not on him, it's on us. He has created it. As a reluctant sanctioner, he has provided us these worldly pleasures, and the king among them being sex pleasure. However, even in this act of sex, right after a few moments, as soon as the semen is lost, God has very strategically put that feeling of emptiness and frustration. The female body that looked so desirable and attractive just before losing semen, after the discharge of semen, one wants to go away from that. Let me share one something I had read. There's one philosopher, Greek philosopher, who made this statement, which is quite close to our Vedic teachings also. He made this statement that after sex, every animal is sad. And yeah, it is quite evident, right? There is a feeling of emptiness and disappointment and frustration at the end of discharging these fluids from the body, right? After discharging semen. So this philosopher made this statement. He just didn't say about human beings. He said about all species. And I was searching for that statement. Okay, more about that. I was reading up online. We have to be very careful about our online search because we come across so many sources, and many of them, they are just not aligned with scriptures. But at least whatever I ended up reading was aligned with scriptures. Our best source of knowledge should be Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, devotees, the association of devotees. We really don't need so much online search. But at one point, just to know a little more about this statement, I did online search. And I came across one man, a young American man, asking a question on one forum that he was confessing that I have had sexual relationships with many beautiful girls. And every girl, every time I have done it, it felt like, oh, this is the best one. This girl, this lady is the best one. In the West, people have free relationships, right? But he was asking on that forum, but as soon as after discharging semen, I have just felt like running away from there. And only after leaving her and hitting the road, driving my car, have I felt satisfied. Oh, I'm away from it. Why does it happen? And then while answering, so many people were giving so many answers. So, yeah, one of them mentioned this statement by this Greek philosopher that after sex, every animal is sad. Now, anyways, we really don't even need some Greek philosopher's statements. Our scriptures have all answers. So, yeah, why has God created things the way He has? Like, for example, this sex pleasure. Yeah, He has offered that worldly pleasure for living entities who want to enjoy separately from Him. By the way, that sex pleasure is also nothing compared to the pleasure of loving God. Those who begin to feel even some faint rays of love for God, for them, sex pleasure, the so called pleasure of sex, it's like sewage, drinking sewage in a cup. Who would want to drink that? So, great saints, they are utterly detached from all these so called pleasures. But, anyways, for most living entities, it looks pleasurable, right? It's a very difficult to give up pleasure. However, we can see God's benevolent hand in as soon as the chemicals are, the semen is discharged, uh, yeah, one feels empty. God has very strategically put that feeling of frustration or emptiness at the end of that pleasure. So, uh, that the male-female attraction is provided by God as a reluctant sanctioner. But when after discharge of semen, that feeling of emptiness that comes, that is a higher form of His mercy. Through that, He has some message that Come on, my dear children, you are not meant to be engaging in these low-class pleasures. You are meant to you are meant to experience a high-class pleasure of loving me, being with me, being in the spiritual realm. So at the end of discharge of semen, God has put that feeling of frustration. So those who are intelligent living beings, they will see the message of God in that. And they will try to rise above these pleasures and take to the real pleasure of loving God. Now, this doesn't mean everyone should become a monk. Yeah, those who want to marry, they can marry. Some other session we will also discuss if somebody wants to marry, what is the right attitude to marry and still desire spiritual perfection. Even within ISKCON, most devotees do get married. So it's not that everyone has to become a monk. So even while being a married man, one can be wise enough and understand all these truths and live by these truths. So yeah, please don't take this example to mean that we are saying everyone should become a monk. That's not the message here. The main message is let's turn toward God. Whether being a monk, if being a monk helps you better approach God, yeah, fine. You can take to monkhood. If being a householder, if being a husband and a father helps you better approach God, yeah, fine. Take to that. It's okay. Either path is okay. Even the path of householders, that's called Grihastha Ashram. If we do it in a spiritual way, that's also given by God, provided by God, so that gradually living entities can realize that there's nothing to be enjoyed in this world. And real joy is in serving God. So, anyways, yeah, God has created lust. Yes, that's true. He has created it. But that doesn't mean He wants us to stay caught up in it. Some living entities ask, right? Oh, if lust is bad, you Hare Krishnas, you ISKCON devotees, you say lust is bad. But then why did God create it at all? Well, here's the answer. God created it, yes, but He has created it as a reluctant sanctioner. But at the same time, after that act, God has put that feeling of disappointment and frustration, right? And emptiness. That is, in fact, why don't you see that message of God? Why do you see only one side that, oh, God has created it, so let me just jump into it and enjoy it unlimitedly? No, God has another message at the end of that act. So intelligent living entities will see the whole picture. Does this make sense? Sorry, maybe we're okay. Do you mind if we extend by one more session? We'll take one more session. Next session will be in the temple. I'll be in Boston by then. Is it okay? I had a little hard stop. So in another 5-10 minutes, we will end. We'll take reflections and end. Oh, Krishna, we have hardly made any. Means in terms of the slides, we haven't gone ahead much. But yeah, this topic of 5 forms of God's mercy in this world is very important. It answers so many questions. It puts together so many pieces. So now, the first form of mercy is not a real form of mercy. As I had mentioned in the previous session, one saint somewhat makes a loving taunt before God. My dear Lord, please don't show me your duplicitous form of mercy. In the sense, please don't give me all these worldly pleasures and show me your duplicitous form of mercy. So he is, in one sense, taunting at God. God, please don't give me all these blessings. Give me a real blessing, which is your love for you. So God's real blessing, worldly pleasures is not a real blessing of God. Some people say that, oh, blessing means to get some nice, to get a lot of wealth, to get a lot of fame, to get some beautiful romantic partner. Some people think this is God's real mercy. But intelligent people realize this is not, this is that first form of mercy, which is actually a lower form of mercy of God. God has given it as a reluctant sanctioner. चलो बच्चा सुधरेगा नहीं, बच्चे को चाहिए ये सब. Just like that master who takes his dog out. The dog wants to taste some garbage, so the master lovingly allows him. So, sorry, I'm beating around the same point again and again, beating around the bush, but it's so important to clarify this. God's higher form of mercy is the challenges and difficulties and the miseries of this world. An intelligent person will see God's benevolent hand in this. As Shreyas Prabhu said, yes, it's not always so easy to realize. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, we will be able to see it. And we saw the act of sex from both these perspectives, right? The first one and second one. So yes, that male-female attraction is there, which is that form of God as a reluctant sanctioner offering some worldly pleasure to living entities who want to be caught up in it. But his mercy, his real mercy comes when that act ends and one realizes, oh, there was hardly anything to be enjoyed in this. Why did I waste so much time on this? So now, this third, fourth, and fifth forms of mercy, they are the real topmost forms of mercy. First and second, not so much. Second was still higher than the first. So you can see this hierarchy. Okay. One second. First is the lowest form of mercy. Second, higher than that. And third, fourth, and fifth, they are at the same level. They are the topmost forms of God's mercy. And what are they? Scriptures, his own words. Some time ago, we discussed this beautiful verse of Lord Krishna, where Lord Krishna says, this human life is a beautiful boat. Who is the captain of the boat? Does someone remember? Let's see if you were attentive. And what are the favorable winds pushing this boat towards spiritual perfection?
Favorable winds is like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita or scriptures,
Yes, the words of God. Yes.
words of God.
And who is the captain of the ship? Guru Karanadharam.
Yeah.
Guru is the captain of the ship. So yes, we are going to see more about these favorable winds and the captain of the ship in the next session. So yeah, these three highest forms of God's mercy are scriptures, his own words. Scriptures, they are not ordinary texts, not like some magazine. The magazines and newspapers of this world, they become old and stale. Next day, nobody wants to read it. Have you seen anyone picking up a 10-day-old newspaper to read it with interest and diving deeply into it? No. Maybe they may keep it for some proof, but nobody reads a 10-day-old newspaper. But Bhagavad Gita, how old is it? 5,000 years old. But has it become stale? It's still ever fresh. Srimad Bhagavatam, again 5,000 years old. It hasn't become stale. Ramayana, even older than that. It hasn't become stale. So the words of God, or the words about God, they don't become stale. They are not ordinary magazines or novels. Other magazines, novels, they are time bound. A few centuries down the line, they just get buried. They hold no more relevance. Then, next form of God's mercy, his own descent into this world. He comes to charm our hearts, to give us samples of spiritual joy. Because Krishna descended into this world 5,000 years ago, now we know, okay, this is how God is, this is how he looks, this is how sweet he is, this is how loving he is. So let us all turn toward him. When we hear these historical events describing God, God's descent, it reawakens our love for God. Our dormant love for God is reawakened. So that is God's descent. And then, yeah, the next form of mercy. Even more often than his own descent, God sends pure devotees who, by being with them, just like if you associate with drunkards, what do you think? In some time, what will happen to you or to me, to any one of us? Suppose I start associating with those who like drinking alcohol day in and day out. What do you think will happen to me in some time?
You will also become like him.
Yes, yeah, it will happen to me also. Similarly, if we associate with those who are intoxicated with love for God, what will happen to us in a short span of time?
You become them, like them.
Yeah, we will also develop that same taste. So, yes, time and again, God sends his pure devotees. Now, pure devotees are the lovers of God. But even though we may not get a pure devotees association in our immediate surroundings, we can at least associate with devotees who are more advanced than us. So, yeah, at any point of time, we can find such association if we are sincere. Okay, so we will end our session, today's session here, and we will take some reflections and comments. Maybe we'll also chant a little bit. As I said, I had some hard stop family commitments. Probably you heard my sister-in-law's voice calling everyone, get ready, getting kids ready and all. So, yeah, I have to step out with them to assist them with something. Okay, so yeah, how about we first go around and hear some reflection from everyone? Any message that stuck with you from today? By uh, verbalizing it, we get to fortify that understanding. So let's do it. Please try to enumerate points that you remember that really struck you. Hmm? Shall I call out names in the order in which I see, or do you want to raise your hands? Anyone here who is in a hurry to leave can go first.
I can start probably.
Sure. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So, like one thing which point that stuck to me, especially what you explained, and we do everything, all of whatever we're trying to do is for the love of Krishna. Whatever we're trying to achieve should not be for us. Yes, to a certain extent, there are side effects and like side benefits, you could say, but the main thing is everything you do is for the love of God. And yeah, we went through the different forms of like trying to reach God, and we reflected on that. And where do we stand? Like the more Maya, we give up a lot of that. And yes, but the point which stuck with me today was that yeah, you don't do anything for yourself. It's everything for the love of God, and that's like if you reach that state, the surroundings is much more greater than you can imagine. I everything you can imagine and much more. That statement also stayed with me. So yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. That's the description of the spiritual world, the abode of God, our real home. It can be described as everything wonderful you can imagine and much more. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Tarun Prabhu. Anyone else? Shreyas Prabhu, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure, bro. So yeah, wonderful lecture, bro. Thank you very much. First of all, and yeah, so this lecture was more of a comparison between the material world and spiritual world. You described about our duties as well. Not duties. Duties is not a right word to say. But the activities and how happening the spiritual world is. One point that I can think of, or it stuck in my mind is the attitude towards our miseries and towards our frustration, and how we can channelize those miseries, and kind of push ourselves to Krishna consciousness with the help of those miseries. I think that attitude, that make more sense to me. I think.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for that point. Yes, the miseries of this world, it takes time to start appreciating them. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, when we look at the bigger picture, how they have helped us come closer to God, then we appreciate them.
Yeah, right. And 7.14 shloka from Bhagavad Gita. It says, "Surrender unto me, and I shall deliver you." We also have similar shloka of Bhagavad Gita 18.66, "Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja." So just surrender unto Lord Krishna, and He will take care of everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that comparison.
And then not just He will take out all the sinful activities from this birth, but He will take all the sinful activities away from us from all the births that we have took so far.
True. Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Did this point about this analysis of the so-called pleasure of sex from the points of view of the first and second form of God's mercy in this world, did it make sense to everyone?
Yeah, of course, it makes sense to me. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So next time anybody asks this question, okay, then if lust is bad, why did God create it at all? Why did God create this male-female attraction at all?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have an answer for that.
Yes, definitely.
Then,
One more point. Sorry, go on, please.
and then in this same act of male-female union, God has also uh, put something constructive in that. It leads to uh, giving, perpetuation of species basically happens through that. Though living entities don't do it because they want to perpetuate the species, they do it for pleasure. But still, God, in such a wonderful way, He has created all phenomena in this world that so many multiple things happen at the same time just through one phenomena. The, that also we can see. And of course, we are not meant to be caught up in that phenomena. It's a distraction from love for God. And therefore, God has mercifully put regret or that feeling of frustration and emptiness at the end of that act. So, anyways, yeah, I hope that analysis was clear to everyone.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe in another 3-4 minutes, I'll have to leave. But yeah, we'll still go around and hear from everyone. I'll not speak anymore. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Next, Ranjit Prabhu, would you like to go?
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Yeah. One of the things that, as an extension of what you were talking about, I forgot the Maharaj who was visiting, Prabhu. He was in Boston, where, and, he's somewhere in the New England area. I'll probably look out,
Niranjan Swami.
yeah, Niranjan Swami, yes, yeah. There you go. Yeah. So he mentioned, an analogy, like, certain things. Um, just a second, please. Sorry.
In the meanwhile, can we
Sorry, Prabhu. Yeah.
have someone else? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Please.
Sorry, Prabhu. Yeah. Yeah, Niranjan Maharaj, he mentioned about, an analogy of license, so it's like a, license. Marriage is a license to do, certain things. One of them is, engagement of sex. So yeah, that is the analogy that came to my mind. Yeah, and I think a lot of good points were discussed. One of the things that like Tarun Prabhu pointed out, I've heard this even in like other religions, Abrahamic religions. They say you do it for the love of God. Um, I mean, I need some more. I don't understand it completely. I need more. Like explanation or guidance through that, and how it can apply to life in general. So, I heard the Prabhu's house that we had been to in the retreat. Um, the men's retreat. He's from Argentina. I'm not able to recall his name. He had mentioned, when like a group of us asked how he was very successful, like in his business and life. So he had mentioned that if I do it for me, I will not be successful. But if I do it for love of Krishna, that is how he was successful. But I don't understand it completely. And yeah, the takeaway points for me, today is definitely the kind of the differentiation between material world and spiritual world, and how there are pleasures beyond or joys much beyond worldly pleasures. So uh, experiencing God, Krishna's mercy through that. Sorry for taking so much time. Yeah.
No, wonderful points. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Next, Sagar, Prabhu, would you like to go next?
Sure, Prabhu. I think one thing that actually made me think was the example you gave about the king who imprisoned his minister, and he ended up going to hunting, and the story, right, and everything happens for a reason. So I just thought about the many things that has happened to me over the years, and how when things didn't work out the way I wanted, I would usually just feel bad, sad, and then something better would happen, but I would never relate back to reasoning with it. Maybe this happened because the other thing didn't work out. So I think appreciating everything, even if it works out, if it doesn't work out, is important. So I think that's a very good thing that I'll take take out from our discussion today. But yeah, a great discussion as usual. Thank you.
Thank you for that point, Sagar, Prabhu. Yeah, that can help us develop the required positive attitude for advancing in Krishna consciousness. Okay, we are yet to hear from Surya Prabhu and Utsav Prabhu. Would you like to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So, one thing which I took from the session was that regardless of what God has given us, the worldly pleasures and the frustrations, in the end, if we consciously know what our goal is, uh, it will lead us to God. Like the analogy of the boat and the crew leading it, and the scriptures are driving us towards Him. That was one beautiful analogy, which proves that everything happens for a reason if we know what our goal is, and be it misery or the worldly pleasure, in the end, it will lead us to God.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Prabhu. So Yeah. Okay. I'm being called now. So, okay, just we are yet to hear from Surya Prabhu. What I'll do is we'll have one more session for sure, and I'll also call everyone individually. We'll have further discussions. Hmm. Okay, Surya Prabhu, would you like to go next?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So from this session, I think so. In terms of lust and in terms of relationship between male and female, like after having the kind of affection towards that, they will not have those kind of relationship after that. So that we will get get into the frustration kind of mode, and that is the first part of mercy from the God. And the second thing that we can hear about is like that is a greatest kind of mercy that we get from the God. And the last kind is like the scriptures and the books, and based on that, those are the other things that we that is a kind and compassionate that we show towards the living beings, and those frustration, how do we come out from those frustration and those kind of struggles. That is another form of mercy that we get from the God. That is one of the struggle that everyone is facing during their life, in order to come out from that kind of uh, life to, well, like what they wanted to achieve in their as a goal or a purpose in their goal. So I think that is one of the important message that I got from the session today, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Prabhu.
Yeah, you were attentively hearing, before reflecting those points. Okay, we'll end our session here. We'll connect personally, and also one more session we will have. Next session, I'll also be in the temple. So we'll meet in the temple for the next session. Okay, thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Have a
Hare Krishna.
nice,
Thank you very much.
have a nice week ahead.
Thank you. Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the class session.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.